Barren. The word struck Emily Carter harder than any shout could have. It crossed the moon court in the healer's quiet voice, and suddenly 300 wolves seemed to forget how to breathe. Emily remained on her knees beneath the pale October moon, her palms resting against the cold ceremonial stone while silver lanterns flickered around the courtyard. She had prepared herself for disappointment. She had prepared herself for whispers. She had not prepared herself to hear her entire worth reduced to one word. Elder Grant slowly lowered the medical parchment. The examination is complete. Emily Carter cannot provide an heir to Silver Creek. A murmur moved through the crowd. Emily kept her chin raised even as heat climbed into her face. At the edge of the ceremonial platform stood Mason Reed, the man who had once promised that nothing could make her unwanted. Tonight, he would not meet her eyes. Vanessa Hale had no such difficulty. She stepped forward in a midnight blue dress, sympathy arranged across her face so perfectly that Emily almost believed it. Silver Creek needs a future, Vanessa said softly. An Omega who cannot continue the bloodline cannot fulfill that duty. Emily heard someone whisper behind her. Then another voice. Then another. Barren. Useless. Broken. Each word was quieter than the last, yet somehow they reached her clearly. Emily looked at Mason. Did you know? His jaw tightened. That was answer enough. Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you believe in courage and destiny, hit like and subscribe. These stories remind us, love finds the broken. Now back to Emily. Mason finally approached, carrying the silver insignia every member of Silver Creek wore from childhood. The council voted before moonrise, he said. Emily stared at him. Voted on what? His silence lasted one heartbeat too long. Your banishment. Something inside her went strangely still. Not shattered. Not broken. Still. Mason reached for the small wolf-shaped emblem fastened at her collar. Emily removed it herself and placed it in his palm. You don't get to take it from me, she whispered. I give it back. For the first time that night, Mason looked ashamed. Emily rose without assistance. Then Elder Grant caught her wrist. His fingers trembled against her pulse. His expression changed. Confusion first, then alarm. Wait, he murmured. Vanessa immediately stepped between them. The judgment has been made. But the healer continued staring at Emily as though he had discovered something impossible. His hand slipped into his robe. Emily. His voice was barely audible. Take this. He pressed a folded scrap of paper into her palm. Vanessa turned sharply. What did you give her? Nothing. Emily closed her fingers around the note. Minutes later, the gates of Silver Creek opened, and the only home she had ever known disappeared behind her. The forest stretched ahead for miles beneath a moon washed white by approaching snow. Emily walked until the lanterns behind her became tiny stars. Only then did she unfold the healer's message. 3 words weighted in hurried black ink. Emily read them once. Then again. The cold suddenly felt deeper. Do not bleed. Emily folded the note until the 3 words disappeared inside her fist, but they remained louder in her mind than the wind moving through the pines. Do not bleed. She had no idea what Elder Grant meant, and there was no one left to ask. Silver Creek had closed its gates behind her nearly an hour ago. Snow had begun to fall in thin white flakes, settling across her dark coat as she followed an old logging trail north. The temperature had dropped below 30 degrees, and every breath left a pale cloud in front of her face. She carried one canvas bag, $27, her mother's bracelet, and enough food for perhaps 2 days. Apparently, that was what 24 years of belonging looked like when packed for exile. Emily kept walking. She refused to give Mason, Vanessa, or anyone else the satisfaction of imagining her curled beneath a tree waiting to be rescued. Then a branch snapped somewhere behind her. Emily stopped. The forest stopped with her. She listened. Nothing. She took another step. Another sound followed, softer this time, deliberately measured. Her heartbeat quickened. Hello. No answer came. Emily moved faster. The logging trail narrowed between tall pines, and the moon vanished behind thick clouds. A few minutes later, she saw movement through the trees. 3 figures. Dark coats. Covered faces. They were keeping their distance, but they were following her. Emily turned off the trail. I have nothing worth stealing, she called. One figure answered calmly. We are not here for your money. Her stomach tightened. She ran. Snow caught beneath her boots as she pushed through the trees, branches brushing her sleeves. Behind her came footsteps, controlled and unhurried. They knew she had nowhere to go. Emily reached a rocky overlook and stopped so suddenly that her bag slipped from her shoulder. The ground dropped away 20 feet ahead into a narrow creek bed. She turned. The three strangers emerged between the pines. "Come with us," the tallest one said. "No one needs to get hurt." Emily slowly backed away. "Who sent you?" They exchanged a glance. That frightened her more than an answer would have. The middle figure stepped forward. "You were never supposed to leave Silver Creek alive and unaccounted for." Emily's fingers closed around the paper hidden in her pocket. "Do not bleed." Suddenly, Elder Grant's warning did not sound like medical advice. It sounded like fear. A low growl rolled through the darkness. Everyone froze. It came again, deeper this time, powerful enough to make the strangers turn toward the trees. Two silver eyes appeared between the trunks. Then an enormous black wolf stepped into the moonlight. Emily had seen large alphas shift before, but never anything like this. The animal stood nearly 4 feet at the shoulder, its black coat dusted with snow, its presence strangely calm despite the warning in its gaze. The strangers retreated. The wolf moved between them and Emily without looking back at her. No attack followed. None was needed. Whatever the three figures recognized in that animal sent them disappearing into the forest almost immediately. Silence returned. Emily could hear only the creek below and her own breathing. The wolf turned. Its silver eyes settled on her. Every instinct told her to run. Instead, Emily noticed something the darkness had hidden. The wolf was limping. "You are hurt," she whispered. It took one cautious step toward her, then stopped. Emily slowly removed her scarf. "All right," she murmured, though she was not certain whether she was speaking to the wolf or herself. "You scared them away. I suppose that makes us even." She approached carefully and wrapped the scarf around its injured front leg. The wolf watched her hands, then lifted its gaze to her face. Something strange passed through Emily, warm and sudden, like recognition without memory. For the first time since Silver Creek had cast her out, she did not feel alone. Then the wolf lowered its head toward her coat pocket, exactly where Elder Grant's warning was hidden, and a quiet growl vibrated in its chest. The wolf kept its attention fixed on Emily's pocket until she slowly reached inside and removed the folded note. "This," she whispered. The animal's ears lifted. Emily unfolded the paper beneath the moonlight, but there was still nothing except Elder Grant's warning. "I wish I understood it too." When she looked up, the wolf had shifted its attention toward the forest. Emily heard distant voices. The strangers were not gone. They were circling back. The wolf nudged her hand, then moved toward a narrow trail descending from the overlook. After several steps, it stopped and looked behind itself. "You want me to follow you?" Another distant voice answered the question for her. Emily grabbed her canvas bag and followed. The wolf led her almost a mile through the snow until an abandoned ranger cabin appeared between the trees. Its windows were dark, but the door opened easily. Inside stood an old iron stove, a narrow cot, and several stacks of dry firewood. Emily managed to start a small fire. Warmth slowly returned to her fingers. "Not exactly a palace," she murmured, looking at the wolf. "But tonight I am not complaining." It settled near the door as though guarding it. Emily offered half of her remaining sandwich. The wolf stared at the food with what looked suspiciously like offense. For the first time that night, Emily almost smiled. "Fine. More for me." Exhaustion eventually pulled her onto the cot. She kept her coat on and the note beneath her hand. The last thing she saw before sleep was the black wolf watching the door. Morning arrived in pale gold strips through the dusty window. Emily opened her eyes and immediately knew something had changed. The wolf was gone. A man stood beside the cold fireplace. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and dressed in dark clothes that looked far too well made for someone wandering through the wilderness. Her scarf was wrapped around his left forearm. Emily sat upright. "Where is the wolf?" The stranger looked at her with silver eyes. The same silver eyes. Understanding arrived slowly. "Oh." His mouth almost curved. "That is usually the reaction." Emily stared at him. "You could have warned me. You were already frightened." His voice was deep but controlled. "I did not think another surprise would help. And now you are awake." Emily narrowed her eyes. "Who are you?" "Damien." He offered no last name. Those people following you were not ordinary travelers. I figured that out when they chased me through a forest. Damien glanced toward her pocket. May I see the note? Emily hesitated, then handed it over. His expression hardened as he read the words. Who gave you this? Silver Creek's healer. Why? I do not know. Damien studied her for a long moment. Why were you banished? Emily hated how difficult the answer remained. They said I was Barren. Something in Damien's face changed. He stepped closer but stopped several feet away, giving her space. May I see your wrist? Emily reluctantly extended her hand. He did not touch her. He only examined the faint silver-gray marks beneath her skin, marks she had assumed came from years of herbal treatments. Damien went completely still. How long have you had those? Almost 3 years. The healer said the medicine was supposed to help me. His gaze rose to hers. There was no pity in it, only certainty. Emily, those marks are caused by moonblood suppressants. Her breath caught. What does that mean? Damien folded Elder Grant's warning and returned it to her. Outside, somewhere beyond the cabin, a raven called through the snowy trees. It means someone did not spend 3 years trying to cure you. His silver eyes held hers. They spent 3 years hiding what you are. Emily could barely force out the next words. Then I am not Barren? Damien's answer came quietly. No, you never were. Emily stared at Damien as if the cabin had tilted beneath her feet. That is impossible. Her voice came out thin. 3 healers tested me. Elder Grant tested me twice. Damien remained near the fireplace, giving her the distance she clearly needed. Then either they were mistaken, or someone wanted you to believe they were. Emily looked down at the pale marks beneath her wrist. For 3 years, she had swallowed bitter herbal mixtures every morning. Vanessa had often delivered them herself, smiling as she reminded Emily that treatment required discipline. Suddenly, every cup tasted different in her memory. Why would anyone do that? That is what we need to find out. Damien moved toward the window. Daylight had revealed fresh tracks outside the cabin. But not here. Emily followed his gaze. They found us. They are searching. He turned back to her. There is a protected outpost about 12 miles north. You will be safe there. Protected by whom? Damien paused. People I trust. It was not an answer, and Emily knew it. Still, the forest offered fewer choices. They left 20 minutes later. The snowfall had weakened, but nearly 6 inches covered the trail. Damien walked beside her rather than ahead, adjusting his pace whenever exhaustion slowed her. He never complained about his injured arm. He never asked to carry her bag until she stumbled for the 3rd time. I can manage, Emily said. I know. He held out his hand anyway. You do not have to prove it every minute. The words unsettled her more than they should have. At Silver Creek, needing help had always been treated like evidence against her. Emily finally handed him the bag. By late morning, a stone compound appeared beyond the trees, surrounded by tall pines and a simple iron gate. 2 guards saw Damien and immediately straightened. He gave them a look, and whatever greeting they had intended disappeared. Emily noticed. She said nothing. Inside, the outpost was warm and unexpectedly comfortable. A gray-haired woman in a navy sweater hurried toward them. Damien, what happened? Evelyn, she needs an examination. The woman's attention shifted to Emily, instantly gentler. I am Dr. Evelyn Moore. Emily stiffened. Evelyn noticed that too. No one touches you without permission here, she said. You can say no at any time. Only then did Emily agree. The examination took nearly an hour. Evelyn checked her pulse, examined the marks on her wrist, and asked detailed questions about the herbal treatments Silver Creek had given her. Then she requested a small blood sample. Emily remembered the note. Do not bleed. Her hand pulled back. What is it? Evelyn asked. Emily showed her Elder Grant's message. The older woman's expression changed immediately. She looked at Damien. Close the door. Emily's heartbeat quickened. Why? Evelyn lowered her voice. Because I think your healer was trying to protect you. She explained that certain forbidden suppressants could disguise rare bloodline markers, making an omega appear ordinary and sometimes disrupting normal fertility signs. Emily swallowed. So Damien was right? Evelyn did not answer immediately. I need one test to be certain. Emily studied her face, then slowly offered her hand. Do it. The sample was taken carefully and carried into the adjoining room. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. Damien remained by the door, silent. Emily paced until Evelyn finally returned holding a small report. The color had drained from her face. Emily stopped moving. Just tell me. Evelyn looked from the paper to Emily. Your body is recovering from years of suppression, but there is something else. Emily felt the room tighten around her. Am I dying? No. Evelyn's eyes moved toward Damien, and for the first time, the doctor seemed genuinely shaken. That is the problem. According to everything Silver Creek recorded about you, what I am seeing should not be possible. Evelyn did not explain immediately. She crossed to a locked cabinet, removed a thin leather folder, and placed Emily's report beside an older medical reference sheet. Damien stayed near the door, but Emily noticed the change in him. His shoulders had gone rigid. Please, Emily said. I have spent 3 years being told what my own body cannot do. I do not want another person deciding what I am allowed to know. Evelyn looked at her, and something softened. You are right. She pulled out a chair. The suppressants in your system were not fertility medicine. They were designed to conceal moonbearer markers. Emily frowned. I have never heard of that. Most people have not. Moonbearers are rare omegas descended from several old bloodlines. Their scent, healing response, and bond patterns can be unusually strong. Generations ago, powerful pacts treated that bloodline like a political prize. Modern royal law made forced testing and suppression illegal. Emily felt cold despite the fire. And I have those markers? Evelyn turned the report toward her. Very clearly. Memories began rearranging themselves. Vanessa bringing her medicine. Mason insisting she never miss a dose. The healer before Elder Grant refusing to let Emily see her own records. Every kindness suddenly carried a question beneath it. They knew. Damien's voice was quiet. Emily looked at him. You cannot know that. Someone maintained the dosage for years, Evelyn said carefully. That requires planning. Emily stood and walked toward the window. Outside, snow rested peacefully across the courtyard, almost offensively beautiful. Why hide me? If this bloodline is valuable, why call me worthless? Damien answered. Because sometimes hiding someone's value is easier than controlling what happens when everyone discovers it. Emily turned. You know more than you are saying. His silver eyes held hers. Yes. Then start saying it. For a moment, neither moved. Finally, Damien approached the table and pointed to the faded crest printed on Evelyn's reference sheet. A crescent moon surrounded by 4 stars. The last documented moonbearer family disappeared from royal records 26 years ago. Emily's breath caught. I am 24. Exactly. Evelyn opened another folder. Inside was a copied registry page bearing a name Emily recognized instantly. Margaret Carter. Her mother. Emily sank into the chair. Her mother had died when Emily was 7. Silver Creek had always described her as an ordinary omega from a small neighboring pack. She was one of them. She was the last confirmed carrier we could find, Evelyn said. Emily pressed her fingers against her mother's bracelet. Grief came differently when accompanied by a secret. It did not simply ache. It asked questions. There is more, Evelyn said. Damien looked sharply at her. Evelyn. The warning in his voice was unmistakable. Emily rose again. No, do not do that. Not after what they did to me. Damien's expression changed immediately. He stepped back. You are right. Evelyn glanced at the second page of the report. The suppression is fading much faster than expected. Your natural markers are returning, and they appear to have been activated recently. Activated by what? Evelyn hesitated. Her eyes moved toward Damien. Emily followed them. Damien had become completely still. Why are you looking at him? Neither answered. Emily's heartbeat became suddenly loud in her ears. Evelyn folded the second page before Emily could read it. Damien crossed the room and took the report from her, his face revealing something Emily had not seen in him before. Not anger. Not fear. Astonishment. What does it say? Emily demanded. Damien looked at her, then back at the page as if checking the words twice. Outside, a bell rang from the gate. One of the guards called that riders were approaching from the south. Silver Creek riders. Emily turned toward the window. 5 horses were coming through the snow. Evelyn whispered. They found her. Damien folded the report and slipped it inside his coat. His calm returned, but it was different now, carrying an authority Emily could feel without understanding. Lock the outer gate. The guard obeyed instantly. Emily stared at Damien. Who are you? He looked toward the approaching riders, then at her. Someone Silver Creek should have hoped never learned what they did to you. The riders stopped outside the iron gate, their horses restless beneath a sky heavy with snow. Emily recognized Mason first. Vanessa sat beside him in a white winter coat, looking less like someone searching for an exile and more like someone arriving to collect property. 3 Silver Creek guards waited behind them. Emily Carter belongs under Silver Creek jurisdiction, Mason called. Open the gate. Damien walked into the courtyard without answering. Emily followed several steps behind, with Evelyn beside her. The guards at the outpost moved toward Damien automatically, forming a quiet line. Mason's confidence faltered. Who are you? Damien ignored the question. Why do you want Emily returned? Mason looked toward her. There has been a misunderstanding. Emily almost laughed. You banished me last night. The council received new information. Vanessa interrupted quickly. Information suggesting Emily may have taken confidential medical records when she left. Emily stared at her. I left with 1 bag and $27. Vanessa's smile tightened. Then you have nothing to worry about. Damien stepped closer to the gate. You traveled 12 miles through worsening weather to retrieve records from a woman you declared worthless. Silence followed. Mason glanced at Vanessa. It was brief, but Emily saw it. So did Damien. Open the gate, Mason ordered. No one moved. That was not a request. Damien finally looked at him. Neither was my question. Something in his voice changed the courtyard. It was not louder. It simply carried authority that made every Silver Creek guard lower his gaze. Mason seemed to feel it too. Emily is a member of my pack. No, Emily said. Everyone turned toward her. Her heart hammered, but she walked forward anyway. You removed my insignia. You signed the order. You watched me leave. Mason softened his voice. Emily, come home. We can discuss this privately. For years, that tone had worked. It had made her question herself, apologize first, become smaller. Not now. I do not want to go with you. Mason's expression hardened. Damien turned toward her, and Emily expected him to speak for her. Instead, he asked, Are you certain? Yes. One word. Her word. Damien faced the gate again. Then there is nothing left to discuss. Vanessa suddenly leaned forward. You do not understand what she is. Damien's silver. Eyes narrowed. I understand more than you think. A horn sounded from the northern road. Everyone turned. A column of dark vehicles approached through the snow, each carrying the blackened silver crest of the royal house. Mason went pale. The first vehicle stopped outside the compound. Men and women in formal royal uniforms stepped out and bowed toward Damien. Your Majesty, the captain said. Emily forgot the cold. She looked at Damien, at the black wolf crest, at the guards bowing their heads. Alpha King Damien Blackwood, the man who had shared an abandoned cabin with her. The wolf she had bandaged with her scarf. The stranger who had carried her bag because she was tired. Damien turned slowly toward Emily. I should have told you sooner. She could barely find her voice. You are the Alpha King. Yes. Mason immediately dismounted. Your Majesty, had we known you were involved, we would have handled this differently. Damien's expression became unreadable. That is precisely the problem. Vanessa looked toward Emily with something close to panic. Damien noticed. Silver Creek will surrender Emily Carter's complete medical records to the Royal Council by sunset. Mason swallowed. Of course. And no one from your pack will approach her without her permission. Vanessa opened her mouth, but Damien continued. There will be a Royal Moon Court hearing. Every treatment Emily received during the last 3 years will be examined. Vanessa's face lost its color. Emily understood then. They had not come because they wanted her back. They had come because they were afraid of what she might discover. Damien looked at the riders. Leave. This time Mason obeyed. As Silver Creek disappeared down the snowy road, Emily turned toward Damien. You still have Evelyn's second report. His hand moved toward his coat. Yes. Then stop protecting me from the truth. Damien slowly removed the folded page. For the first time since revealing his crown, the Alpha King looked uncertain. He held the report toward her. Emily, whatever this says, the choice of what happens next belongs to you. She took the page. Her eyes moved across the medical terms until they stopped on one line, then another. Her fingers began to tremble. Evelyn stepped closer, but said nothing. Emily looked up at Damien. This cannot be right. Damien's silver eyes held hers. Evelyn tested it twice. Emily looked back at the report, at the result that should have been impossible, and suddenly understood why Damien had been astonished. Somewhere inside the body Silver Creek had spent years calling broken, something had awakened. Emily read the line a third time, hoping the words would rearrange themselves into something ordinary. They did not. Early pregnancy markers detected. Her voice barely carried across the courtyard. The paper trembled between her fingers. How? Evelyn stepped beside her. The suppressants distorted your previous examinations. Your natural moonbearer markers are returning, and the new test detected changes the Silver Creek methods would have missed. Emily looked at Damien. His expression was controlled, but his silver eyes held something deeper. Recognition. You knew before I read this. I suspected, he said. Evelyn confirmed it. Emily pressed the report against her coat. Questions crowded her mind, but the royal vehicles outside the gate left no time for answers. By afternoon, Damien's convoy carried them north toward Blackwood Keep, where the Royal Moon Court had been summoned. Emily watched snow-covered forests pass beyond the window. Damien sat across from her, never once asking her to speak. That restraint mattered more than she wanted to admit. When the towers of Blackwood Keep finally appeared, Emily understood the scale of the world Damien had hidden from her. Black stone walls rose above the valley, silver banners moving in the winter wind. Inside, representatives from neighboring packs were already gathering. Silver Creek arrived shortly before sunset. Mason entered the Moon Court wearing formal gray. Vanessa followed him, composed until she saw Emily standing beside Evelyn near the royal platform. Then her expression tightened. Damien entered last. Every conversation stopped. He took his place before the throne but did not sit. This hearing concerns the medical treatment and unlawful suppression of Emily Carter, he said. Vanessa immediately stepped forward. Your Majesty, Silver Creek rejects the accusation. Emily was treated for infertility according to our healer's recommendations. Evelyn placed 3 reports on the council table. These compounds were not fertility treatments. They concealed moonbearer markers. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Mason looked toward Vanessa. You told me the medicine was approved. Vanessa's calm finally cracked. Because that is what I was told. By whom? Damien asked. She hesitated. Too long. Emily felt the entire room notice. Then Vanessa turned toward her. None of this changes what she did. Emily frowned. What I did? You disappeared with a stranger and returned under royal protection. Now suddenly there are claims about rare bloodlines and false treatments. Vanessa gave a small, humorless laugh. And perhaps we should discuss the other convenient discovery. Evelyn went still. Damien's gaze sharpened. Emily understood before Vanessa said another word. Do not, Mason whispered. Vanessa ignored him. Emily Carter is pregnant. The Moon Court erupted in whispers. Emily felt hundreds of eyes turned toward her, and for one terrible second she was back on her knees at Silver Creek, being measured by what her body could provide. Damien stepped down from the royal platform. He did not touch her. He simply stood near enough that she knew she was not alone. Mason stared at Emily as if seeing her for the first time. Then calculation entered his expression. If that is true, the child's pack affiliation must be established. Emily's stomach tightened. My child is not pack property. There are laws, Mason said. Silver Creek may have a legitimate claim depending on lineage. No, Damien said. One quiet word silenced the room. Vanessa turned toward him. Your Majesty cannot possibly know whose child she carries. Damien looked at Evelyn. The doctor gave the smallest nod. Then he looked at Emily, not at Mason, not at Vanessa, not at the council. His expression softened. And slowly, unexpectedly, the Alpha King smiled. Damien's smile was not triumphant. It was almost disbelieving, as though the truth had finally become larger than even he expected. Vanessa stared at him. What exactly is amusing, Your Majesty? Damien descended the final step from the royal platform. You are. Her face tightened. Silver Creek spent 3 years calling Emily Barren. Yet the moment you learned she was carrying a child, you decided the child might belong to you. Mason shifted uneasily. We are discussing pack law. No, Emily said. Her voice surprised even her. She stepped forward. You are discussing me as though I am not standing here. The chamber fell quiet. Emily could feel her heartbeat in her fingertips, but she did not lower her eyes. Yesterday I was worthless because you believed I could not have children. Today you want authority over my child because you discovered you were wrong. Which version of me belongs to Silver Creek, Mason? The useless Omega you banished, or the moon bearer you suddenly want returned? Mason had no answer. Vanessa did. This is absurd. She was declared infertile for years. Now she spends one night under royal protection, and everyone is expected to believe she carries some miraculous heir. Damien's expression cooled. Choose your next words carefully. Emily looked toward Evelyn. I want the truth. All of it. Evelyn nodded. Moonbearer bonds do not follow ordinary pack patterns. When a dormant moonbearer encounters her true royal counterpart, suppressed markers can awaken almost immediately. The bond is spiritual before it is physical. In extremely rare cases, royal records describe what healers called a moon heir, a life sparked by the bond itself. A stunned murmur moved through the court. Emily looked at Damien. That is possible. I did not know it still was, he admitted. Evelyn lifted the second report. I repeated the test because I did not believe the first result. Then I compared the child's emerging royal marker with His Majesty's bloodline registry. Vanessa gave a sharp shake of her head. A marker proves nothing. Actually, Evelyn said, this one does. She placed the report before the council. The Blackwood royal line carries a hereditary lunar signature found nowhere else in the kingdom. The developing life Emily carries has that signature. Silence spread outward from the table until the entire chamber seemed frozen. Mason looked at Damien. Vanessa looked at Emily. Damien looked only at her. When did you know? Emily asked. At the outpost, when Evelyn showed me the second test. Why did you not tell everyone immediately? Damien took another step toward her, then stopped before entering her space. Because your pack spent years making decisions about your body without your consent. I was not going to become another man who did the same. Something inside Emily loosened. Not because a king had defended her. Because he had waited. Because when he could have claimed the moment, he had given it back to her. Vanessa's voice cut through the silence. She was barren. Damien turned toward her. No, you made her believe she was. Vanessa went pale. Damien faced Emily again, and the severity left his expression. That unexpected smile returned, gentler now. They sent you into the snow believing you could never give anyone an heir. Emily's breath caught. Damien's voice softened. Emily, you carry my heir. The words moved through the moon court like a bell. No one laughed. No one whispered. Mason lowered his gaze. Vanessa seemed unable to speak. But Emily did not feel victorious. She placed one hand over her abdomen, overwhelmed by the impossible future opening before her. Damien did not reach for her. What happens now? She whispered. Whatever you choose, he answered. Emily looked across the faces of the council, then toward the Silver Creek insignia on Mason's coat. Yesterday, those people had decided her worth. Tonight, they were waiting for her decision. Emily lifted her chin. Then I choose something bigger than revenge. Damien's eyes narrowed with quiet curiosity. Emily turned toward the royal council. I want the law that allowed Silver Creek to do this examined. No Omega should ever stand where I stood last night and be told that the ability to have a child determines whether she deserves a home. This time, the silence felt different. It did not diminish her. It listened. The royal council did not answer Emily immediately. For several long seconds, the only sound inside the moon court was the winter wind brushing against the tall windows. Then an elderly councilwoman rose from her seat. Emily Carter, your request will be entered into royal record. Another council member stood. Then another. Until the law is reviewed, Damien said. No pack may exile an Omega solely because of fertility, pregnancy, or the absence of either. Mason lowered his head. Emily expected satisfaction to come rushing through her. Instead, she felt something quieter. Relief. Vanessa stood motionless beside the Silver Creek delegation, all her certainty gone. Evelyn placed the medical records before the council. The evidence showed years of unauthorized suppressants, altered examinations, and concealed moonbearer results. The Royal Council ordered a full investigation of everyone involved. Emily watched Vanessa carefully. Once, she might have wanted to see the woman humiliated before the same kind of crowd that had humiliated her. Now that moment felt strangely small. I do not want revenge, Emily said. Vanessa looked at her. I want the truth recorded. I want every Omega who was treated this way to know that what happened to them was wrong. Mason finally stepped forward. Emily, I should have questioned the records. His voice was low. I should have questioned all of it. Emily studied the man who had once promised to protect her. Yes, she said simply. She did not forgive him. She did not punish him. She merely stopped carrying his failure as if it belonged to her. By midnight, the hearing was over. Snow covered the balconies of Blackwood Keep, turning the kingdom beyond into a silent white horizon. Emily stood outside beneath a clear sky when Damien joined her. He carried something in his hand, a silver Luna insignia. Emily looked at it, but did not reach for it. Is that another decision everyone has already made for me? Damien almost smiled. No. He placed the insignia on the stone railing between them. It is an invitation. Emily turned toward him. Do you want a Luna, Damien, or do you want the mother of your heir? The question hung between them. Damien looked at the insignia, then pushed it gently toward her without asking her to take it. Neither, unless. You choose me first. Emily felt her throat tighten. There was no throne in his voice now. No command. Just the man who had guarded a cabin door while she slept, carried her bag through 6 inches of snow, and waited while she decided what happened to her own life. And if I need time, she asked, then I wait. And if I disagree with you? I suspect that will happen often. Emily laughed, softly at first, then with a warmth she had almost forgotten she possessed. Damien smiled with her. She looked down at her mother's bracelet, then at the Luna insignia. She did not pick up the insignia. Not yet. Instead, she extended her hand toward Damien. He looked at it for a moment before placing his hand in hers. Emily chose him that way, not as a king, not as protection, and not because of the child whose future had suddenly changed both their lives. She chose the man who had given her room to choose herself first. Far below, the bells of Blackwood Keep began announcing a new royal decree across the valley. Emily looked toward the horizon as the first light of morning touched the snow. One day earlier, she had walked through those forests believing she had lost her home. Now she understood that home was never the place that demanded she prove her worth. It was the place where her worth was never questioned. And if Emily's journey reminds you that kindness can be stronger than power and that every person deserves the freedom to choose their own future, please like this story, share it with someone who needs that reminder, and subscribe to the channel for more stories of courage, destiny, and love.